Hey, hi, hello, everybody. I said hello, not hello. I will no longer employ the uses thereof or use that as the greeting word of hello anymore in my head. I kind of slightly bumped it against the wall. Anyway, though, getting back to some such a, I may have to take a headache pill, like an aspirin. So getting back to some such, then that's not half this, you know, or some such pain being of which I was damn near cause. Well, excuse my language, pardon French. And to compliment the name title for this present social media broadcast or video of mine. Then we'll get to that shortly or in due time. Getting back to the basic intro as an introduction. Oh, but damn, my allergies about this. For some reason or another, maybe the neighbor from hell is going about with his same old 2 cent power plays once again to attempt to make my life a little downhill. And more than likely, more often than not, he himself is doing just that. And although I could possibly give him the benefit of the doubt with all things considered, whereas he's a real idiot and a crackpot or, a stupid dumb cough. Sicko and a weirdo. Not to mention a really creepy kind of guy, fellow, dude. Likewise, or as well, all the same as himself is a crazy kind of guy. You know, and or freaking idiot. But anyway, though, getting back to the basic intro, not that I'm going to dwell on negative because I'm a positive person. Yeah. Anyway, though, you all heard though. Yes. I was saying in more words or less, and as I think of it with that in my mind, still try to backtrack here. No purpose of being, so I can go on to follow to continue from where I went. That my first and last left on, so I can finish up as a completed form for each prior lines on the same sense of the word. And whereas I was saying in more words or less, how I will no longer employ the use instead of or use the word as the greeting word of hello compared to replacing it or substituting it being of some such with that of the greeting word of halo. Though both words sound similar, but then both the two greeting words are the same, let it be said and I'll state for the record. Not only have two different spellings, but likewise two different definitions or meanings. And the very reason or purpose for that my person having said so as I had done or did in mentioning how I will no longer employ the uses thereof will use the greeting word of hello compared onto halo is being that because after having read this one paperwork document of literature that was produced by this one author, where he himself was saying that whenever a person greets another person with the greeting word of hello, that you're literally actually wishing a curse upon that other person or upon another. And being that because the root word of the greeting word hello is that being of hell, being of which is to be described as or translated with the definition meaning a place of torment. So therefore, I scratch that or mark it off uh, my list of choices of words being which I could possibly employ or use within my vocabulary. But then hopefully I have a rather extensive one and one that is rather really open. And then I get to go back to school, higher education, or to once again, join the student body, in due regard in reference to some such matters as that vein now that comes to mind, and be it were to be for college or university, you know. Then likewise, I have yet to rejoin the workforce, speak upon those matters now that has also come to mind. And regardless of this global pandemic, being as it is the present existence of the world or international community or whatever I said. And for these biblically prophetic times, or for these end times or last and evil days, and as each and every one of us is witnessing that is being whatever races and whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old, young, alike, both two sexual genders, males and females, that we're living in a day and age or era of increased lawlessness. Being of which brings me to that other subject matter, topic of discussion or argument to be debated in due regard in reference to that being of which will not only, make up the content of this present social media broadcast, aka also known as video of my own personal making, but likewise it would complement the footnotes to that being of the same of the said question and of the former previously prior mentioned, being of which it is associated or affiliated with and or representing. Okay. But then first of all, let me finish up with the basic intro, as an introduction by just simply asking you all a question of how you all doing. Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay or all right. Well, hopefully much better than what I feel like at the moment. Or I would like to think I feel a little better at where it appears or seems to be the case of situation, but with all things considered, and especially after I had become subject to experiencing one of these speed demons on the road, disregarding or ignoring the rules and regulations of responsible driving behind the steering wheel of a 2-ton motor vehicle. But we'll get to that shortly. Hopefully, you all are feeling at least. Next, we'll get to that shortly after I finish up with this. And as I was saying, I was thinking of it with that. My mind's just right back here with first being on like going so I can continue from where I went. My person had last left off, so I can finish up as a complete point for you to survive life out of the Saints and so on. Well, hopefully, you all are feeling at least okay. All right, if not better yet, or rather correction, that's about to be said to be feeling blessed and stressed. More blessed and stressed, the two blessed possibly come to be stressed. You and yours, family, friends, hopefully me and mine likewise as well, all the same. Well, so I say, regardless of whether or not that my person is speaking correct, proper standard English grammar, of American dialect of some or such qualities and quantities or not. Be I speaking the King's English or street slang for that matter. But then I wish you all, one and all, well, be card carrying members to my social media family or be any visitors to my own personal channel, chat room, and or comment section. Just don't come in here as some kind sort of type of a negative internet troll character, be you a male or female or man or woman, because I'm not having it. And for one thing, first of all, I will silence your chat, and then second of all, last but not least, I will block you. And very few persons, being of whom I block, do I permit that of a chance to regain access or once again entry to my own personal channel, chat room, and our comment section. Regain access. Or whatever I was saying. Right, I was saying in my words. And being that because the majority of most being of whom I block from my own personal channel, chat room, and our comment section of social media for this particular website address, being in which I am an account holder of, or for any other ones, being in which I possess for its business rival competitors. Do I permit? Yeah, very few do I permit re-entry because the majority of most they are blocked permanently. That's just me, you know. I mean, I've always been like that when it comes to any social media account that I myself could be the sole owner thereof for that being of my own personal channel, chat room, and our comment section. And because life is just too short to be engaged in some of such counterproductive, non-beneficial controversy of negative drama that could lead to one thing and another, if you know what I mean. Read between the lines, fill in the blanks. And whereas I'm supposed to believe in God, so I cannot afford to, I mean, how much less as someone of such a one of that nature to, you know, be sticking out there like a sore thumb or as if I have a poster on my back saying, come on, come all, excuse my language, my French, dickhead pricks, bastards and bitches alike. No, let me phrase that. Well, forgive me. Prince Peace continue regulating my mind compared out of Prince Biden country free speech. Males and females alike, hellraisers or troublemakers who misbehave and assume that a meaningful philosophy of life is to come off as some kind, sort of type of antagonist with another person, or in other words, like a cowardly bully and a terrorist wannabe, you know, or an antisocial person, or a social reject for any given society, country, or nation, you know, and who likewise presume or assume that strength or power is to attempt to bully somebody else when, if anything, that is just so much weakness on one's own part. And you know, to compliment the character of a proverbial neighbor from hell, one of the dime a dozen public nuisances a problem. And I'm not having that, you know. If you want to dump your emotional baggage for whatever it is, being of which you yourself could have come subject to experiencing some of such abuse coming from another or others, you know, older persons or some of such your peers growing up, then take it to another person's personal channel, chat room, in our comment section, then because your kind sort of type is not welcome here, with the exception if you're willing to come in and take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, then I have no problem if you're seeking, you know, to acquire a new lease on life, you know, by trying to think of it with a mind's intention to secure for your person that being of some such meaningful and or positive feedback, suggestions, or advice. But if you're not, if you're trying to come on my channel or come into my chat room, you know, comment section for something totally altogether different, then please take a hike, you know, go on elsewhere with it, you know, you know what I'm saying? Whosoever, get out of here, you know, because this is not that kind of party, you know. I mean, even so, if you want to be entertained, you know, hopefully you want to become or be on a positive note of interest, not to mention that much more educated and or enlightened. Because if your sole reason or purpose for coming on my channel and or for coming into my chat room and our comment section is to prove to me or anybody else for that matter how much you could show yourself more often than not, that much more than appear or seem to have become or be just so brain dead, brainless, or brainwashed. You're going to fall on silent ears here, because I'll be like, talk to the hand, because I myself am not listening, Now, don't get me wrong, I'll give you more than enough time to change your tune, but after a while, if you're really proving yourself to be just as persistent and or sadistic as a cowardly bully and a terrorist wannabe proverbial neighbor from hell, public nuisance or problem neighbor character, then when you least suspect it, I'm going to kick you to the curb. If I don't do so then and there for that particular social media broadcast or video, whereas then from there, the next time you were to attempt to tune in to my channel, chat room, and or comment section, you may find yourself not being able to get back in under no circumstances. You hear? That all depends, Because as I said before, so once again, very few persons, being of whom I block, do I permit re-entry. This is regardless of race or walk of life, faction, or societal lifestyle preference. Then I would be, like I say, I'd be more, like I say, or how you say, more tolerant of any underage minors, of adolescents or teenagers and or preteens compared to grown-ups or adults. You hear what I'm saying? For obvious reasons or purposes, for my person, never said so many cuss if anything, grown-ups or adults, they know better, so they would have less of an excuse, less of a legit excuse to be coming off acting like boneheads or buttheads of modern day cave person characters, Who got fuck all? Who got fuck? I'm dead. Who got fuck all? Who got fuck all? I can't stop this feeling. Attempting to bully you. Who got fuck? Being that because I feel like I'm so much cattle that is gone really berserk from drinking a version or edition of the Jonestown Kool-Aid mixed punch like so. You hear what I'm saying? But then moving right along as our, mind you, as our kissing cousins across the great waters, the Atlantic Ocean would say, being citizens of the mother country that gave birth to our own supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy as we have it in the USA, or to get to the main event, regardless of whether or not that my person were to speak upon any other subject matters or topics of discussions or given arguments to be debated with many different views and or opinions to be affiliated or associated with or representing some or such thereof, you know, to be in addition to that being the same or the said question or the form previously prior mentioned being the content for this present social media broadcast of video, in which would complement the name title to it, as it is regarding making reference to the speed demon on the road. And likewise, as I have typed up words, that is relating to that of the same within the footnotes to the side. Anyway, though, I had finally stepped out of my place of residence, after feeling quite up under the weather, as I had explained, and that of a former previous or prior social media broadcast or video of mine. And I took a trip to the store, though I was feeling like a 90 something or 100 something year old man, feeling just that weak, And I took my shopping cart with me, whereas my book bag now, since I've been feeling like lately, seemingly that much more up on the weather, I now I'm positioning it in one of them rollaway things, or apparatus or equipment with wheels, compared to carrying on my back until I would feel even better physically, mentally, and etc. So I'm pushing that through the streets as well as a small shopping cart, not the average size one, though I do have an average size one now, but a much smaller one. Pick up a couple few item products from a place of business, of a store that sells food, food substances and so forth. But then as I'm coming back, the speed demon on the road, Ben of whom just so happened to be a brother and a black brother at that. Why is it that it's always black brothers that make the rest of us brothers look bad, especially fellow black brothers? They always corner the market when it comes to misbehaving like dickhead pricks, Sounds kind of weird, the last mention, and contradict my otherwise Christian demeanor or character or whatever I'm saying. So maybe I should rephrase that, for the last mention. Yes, why is it that black brothers are always coming off like characters corner the market when it comes to ignorance, insanity, and or impoliteness or stupidity, sickness, and or rudeness, and make the rest of us black brothers look bad? And whereas the first runner up is always the Hispanic brothers, you know, are so much like black brothers. And I take it that the second runner up would be Asian brothers. And anybody else, non white, non Caucasian males, they're, below the bottom of those three, whom I had mentioned, who would win that not only dickhead of the week or month but of the year or rather ignoramus imbecile idiot sickle award or trophy, you know, and be misbehaving like some of such be desperately needing, you know, from an anger management program to that being a psych therapy otherwise. So I'm crossing the street as a pedestrian, trying to get from one sidewalk to the next, and I had the right of way, and this black brother behind the steering wheel of a 2-ton motor vehicle, whereas he like practically or possibly come so close, yeah, likewise, to collide with my physical body as a person of a pedestrian, And I was pretty pissed behind that. So now I'm gonna have to be extra careful whenever crossing the street, where it's bad enough to have to put up with that kind of nonsense during daylight hours, but especially that much more when it comes to the evening hours when there's less natural light out here compared to the street lights otherwise, And whereas his black brother is reminding me of a neighbor from hell, it just so happened to be another black brother. How I know it's a black brother because one time this ignoramus, imbecile idiot, sicko, psychopath, sociopath, sadomasochist, sadist, blah, 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 accountability, and terrorism. He literally actually knocked on my apartment door one night after I had called the police upon him for how he be coming off like the real life Bam Bam Rebels. But then I wondered if he creeps just as much or possibly worse yet, that much more than how he be making all that racket of making extreme excessive daily and nightly noises, you know, and they want to complicate matters or compound the problem by bothering my apartment door, you know. And homie don't play that, you know. As not only do I believe in calling the emergency number of 911 via a home phone or cell phone, but I likewise, as well, I was saying, do believe in self-defense. So he knocks on my apartment door one night, and speaking upon these matters now to come out, I'm thinking that it's the police officers or cops once again wanting to ask me questions about him. Well, so I said, yeah, speaking correct, proper, standard English grammar, American dialect, or some such qualities, and how to speak the King's English or Sweet Spanish for that matter. But whereas I'm thinking this them wanting to ask me more questions about this dickhead, this this creep as well as crank, and it turns out to be him. And I'm like saying, this is unbelievable. I'm like, are you effing or freaking kidding me? Like, what is it you want? What is it that you could possibly want to be knocking on my apartment door? You know, was I have explained to the police or the cops all that I have had to say to them. I don't really have anything to say to you. You know, why should I? Because, how should I put it? What part of this don't you understand? You're nuts, you know. Whereas he's like saying, I would appreciate if you had, made contact with me and discuss matters and to have, you know, convey a message to the police. Well, I'm putting it in more words, less my own words. But then that's what he had said in general. He said something. I would appreciate if you had, brought it to me first before you had, you know, called the police, I'm not saying, man, if I wasn't having these problems with you in the first place, I wouldn't have had to call them to begin with. Duh. What part of that don't you understand? Are you really that off the rocker? How do you reason that I should, discuss matters with you, whereas you weren't listening, to me in the first place, whenever I would yell within my apartment, within close vicinity, loud enough for you to hear, saying, could you please tone it down? Do you have to carry on like you have lost your mind altogether, practically, if not possibly, daily and nightly? Do you have to continue this quite regular, usual daily and on nightly routine of yours? If I could discuss matters with him, I wouldn't have to have called the police to begin with. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Really now. So I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Knocking on my apartment door, talking crap about how you would have appreciated if I had discussed matters with you first and foremost before I had called the police. So I'm like, tell him, I have nothing to say to you, sir. Could you please get away from my apartment door? Whatever I have had to say, I've already said it to the police. And whereas he would remind me of this here one cocksucker speed demon on the road of another black brother, disregarding the rules and regulations of the road, you know, disregarding or ignoring the proper, responsible driving etiquette. But anyway, though, on this last note of interest, I would just like to say, in conclusion, as I usually would give the greeting, and then I would speak upon the subject matter, maybe, or at least one, if not, well, maybe a couple few for that matter, depending on how I feel. That's and give them one, and then I would get a conclusion. So I would say, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now by recognizing and realizing what he himself had done upon the cross of Calvary, suffering at the hands of Roman soldiers to fulfill biblical prophecy so that you can get that salvation of his before you were to cross on over to the other side. And people in hell want ice water, you know, whereas you could become fellow believers in God among, you know, God and his angels. Likewise, then there has to be across the great divide that separates heaven and hell with the rest of the unsaved, lost, damned human souls of unbelievers to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and the demons for all eternity. You all take care. And God bless. Peace.